iPut Real Estate is Dublin's leading property investment company. For almost 60 years, a custodian of the city embracing excellence in design, sustainability and occupier experience. More than that, iPut understands that real change means transforming how valuable, vibrant and loved a neighbourhood is. Discover how they build and invest. Head to iput.com now and learn about their passion for their projects and their unique presence in Dublin. iPut, creator of exceptional places, custodian of the city.
One of the best-known buildings in Washington, D.C. got its enduring fame from a scandal which rocked the American political world and led to the resignation of a sitting president. But how does an urban development move on from a scandal which bears its same name? And can it capitalise on the events that took place within its walls? You're listening to Tall Stories, a Monocle production brought to you by the team behind The Urbanist. I'm Andrew Tuck. In this episode, Charlotte McDonald-Gibson uncovers the modern story of the Watergate complex.
Washington, D.C. may lay claim to having one of the most famous buildings in the world, with the goings-on at the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue making the news every day. But head about 10 blocks west until you hit the Potomac River, and you will reach perhaps one of the world's most infamous buildings, the Watergate complex, where in 1972, an attempted break-in at the offices of the Democratic National Committee set in motion 2 years of political intrigue that led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon in 1974. Yet, while the word Watergate is instantly recognisable and created a whole new lexicon of scandal with the millions of gates that followed, the building itself remains a relative unknown outside the confines of Washington, D.C. In fact, Watergate does not refer to a building, but a complex of 3 residential buildings, 2 office blocks, a luxury hotel, and a retail space. At the time of the 1972 break-in, it was one of the most sought-after addresses in DC, with its sweeping views of the Potomac River, its proximity to the corridors of power, and its innovations in modern living, attracting the great and the good of the nation's capital.
People could live here, get everything they need, and not have to worry about really going beyond the Foggy Bottom area. That's commonplace today. People almost say, well, that's a no-brainer. Back then, it was huge because most people in D.C. were living in the suburbs. They weren't living downtown. So this was a way to draw people downtown, but also show those people that you'll have all the conveniences you're used to right at your fingertips.
I spoke to Keith Crom, an attorney who moved into the Watergate complex in 2018. He wants to reclaim the building's place as a pioneer of modernist architecture and urban design, and is in the process of fundraising for a Watergate museum, which will not only tell the story of the political scandal, but celebrate Watergate's architectural legacy as well.
When it was conceived, it really was the first planned urban development in Washington, D.C. And it's kind of funny that that's almost commonplace today, that design has been mimicked and mimicked.
Watergate was designed by the Italian architect Luigi Moretti, who had risen to prominence designing buildings under the regime of the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. Moretti was briefly imprisoned after the fall of fascism, but revived his reputation as a pioneer of avant-garde modernist architecture. So he seemed a natural fit for the Italian developers of the Watergate complex. Moretti came up with a design for a distinctive curved exterior with balconies sporting what looked like concrete teeth, and it was not to everyone's taste.
It was the capital city, and people had the idea of, you have to have federal-style buildings here. Why are you doing this thing with curves and, these balconies that look like, I think Bob Woodward described it as Tyrannosaurus Rex teeth,
But despite the many misgivings, the building went ahead and was a great success, attracting residents like Martha Mitchell, the gregarious conservative socialite and wife of Nixon's Attorney General John Mitchell, a woman who would eventually become a key Watergate whistleblower. It was around a decade after the Watergate complex was completed that the fateful break-in happened, orchestrated by members of Nixon's re-election committee, who planned to tap the phones and try and dig up dirt on Nixon's political rivals. Nixon eventually resigned in 1974 after it emerged that he had ordered a cover-up of the break-in.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
The resonance of opening a museum into presidential misconduct at this moment in history, as Donald Trump faces accusations of subverting the powers of the presidency, is not lost on Crom, and he hopes that any future museum will remind people of the importance of safeguards in place to ensure that presidents abide by the rule of law. His Watergate Museum is still in the planning and fundraising phase, but already the foundation behind it has organised a series of lectures and last week opened a pop-up exhibition in the retail space, featuring 70 portraits of the key players in the Watergate scandal, rendered in pastels by the artist Laurie Munn. While the residential blocks, the office buildings and the hotel are in a good state of repair, the retail space has seen better days, with crumbling balconies and full lease signs above empty shops. Crom also hopes that any museum will draw people to the building and prompt a rejuvenation of the public spaces, helping keep this piece of US history alive for generations to come.
Living at the Watergate, you constantly see people on Virginia Avenue who are walking with their families, their friends, pointing out the different buildings and relating the story of what happened in this building in 1972. And there's just this natural interest in the story still. The refreshing thing for me was seeing those people in the age groups. I mean, a lot of people turn to me and say, who's going to remember this? But it's people who are in their early 20s or maybe not even 20 yet who are gawking at the buildings and talking about the scandal. And I think because of that, it really still resonates today.
Tool Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was written by Charlotte McDonald-Gibson and produced and edited by David Stevens. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive new episodes every week. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thanks for listening, city lovers.
iPut Real Estate is Dublin's leading property investment company. For almost 6 decades, they've owned and developed the best workplaces in Ireland, setting standards and attracting global capital to the Irish market. As a gateway to Europe, Dublin is a global centre for investment. iPut leads the market by delivering innovative, design-led workplaces and public spaces that enhance the occupier experience and neighbourhood life. Their ambition? To set new benchmarks in workplace quality, attract leading businesses to Dublin, all while delivering strong, sustainable returns for their investors. Find out how they're building this future. Head to iput.com now. iPut, creator of exceptional places, custodian of the city.